Introduction: an archipelago in the heart of the Pacific. Over 3,200 kilometers southwest of California's coast, the Hawaiian Islands rise from the Pacific Ocean like jewels of natural beauty and biodiversity. This archipelago is renowned not only for its beaches, volcanoes, and rich culture, but also for its strategic role in the history of U.S. expansionism. The annexation of Hawaii in 1898 marked a controversial milestone in U.S. foreign policy, its path fraught with diplomatic intrigues, economic interests, and resistance from native Hawaiians. The beginnings of the Kingdom of Hawaii. Before European explorers arrived, the Hawaiian Islands were inhabited by Polynesian peoples who had developed a highly structured society based on clan systems. In the late 18th century, King Kamehameha I unified the islands under one kingdom after a series of military campaigns. This monumental achievement laid the groundwork for a centralized government that thrived for much of the 19th century. The arrival of Europeans, beginning with Captain James Cook in 1778, quickly transformed Hawaiian society. Traders, missionaries, and entrepreneurs from Europe and the United States came seeking new opportunities, bringing with them technologies, diseases, and religions. These influences undermined Hawaiian traditions, but also facilitated the archipelago's integration into global trade. The sugar trap, the entry of foreign capitalism. As the 19th century progressed, sugarcane cultivation became Hawaii's economic engine. American entrepreneurs saw the island's fertile volcanic soil and perfect climate as a golden opportunity. Initially, Hawaiians welcomed foreigners as trade partners, but what began as cooperation soon turned into domination. Native Hawaiians, whose traditional livelihood depended on the land, began losing access to it. Giant plantations controlled by descendants of American missionaries displaced local communities. For entrepreneurs, this was progress. For Hawaiians, it was a constant lament. Every hectare lost was a piece of their soul disappearing. Hawaii's dependency on trade with the United States also made it vulnerable. In 1875, the Reciprocity Treaty between the two nations sealed an unequal pact. While tariffs on Hawaiian sugar were eliminated, the kingdom began to be treated not as a partner, but as an economic appendage of the United States. The United States sets its eyes on Hawaii. Throughout the 19th century, Hawaii gained strategic and economic importance. The islands became a key port for whalers and a vital stop for ships crossing the Pacific. In 1875, the United States signed a reciprocity treaty with the Kingdom of Hawaii, removing tariffs on Hawaiian sugar in exchange for exclusive access to the archipelago's resources and ports. This agreement solidified economic ties, but also increased American entrepreneurs' influence in Hawaiian politics. The arrival of missionaries and entrepreneurs. In the mid-19th century, a steady stream of Protestant missionaries from the U.S. arrived in Hawaii to convert the natives to Christianity. Although their mission was religious, they played a crucial role in transforming the kingdom's culture, education, and politics. Missionaries introduced written Hawaiian, promoted literacy, and encouraged the adoption of a legal system based on Western models. Simultaneously, many descendants of missionaries became entrepreneurs, establishing powerful sugar plantations and acquiring vast tracts of land, often displacing Hawaiian farmers. To meet the growing demand for plantation labor, workers were brought from China, Japan, Portugal, and the Philippines, significantly altering the island's demographics. The 1887 Constitution, the Bayonet Constitution. The influence of American and European entrepreneurs peaked in 1887 with the Bayonet Constitution. The Bayonet Constitution was forced upon King Kalakaua by the Hawaiian League under threat of armed force. It severely limited the monarch's power and granted disproportionate political rights to foreign residents while disenfranchising many native Hawaiians. Although Kalakaua remained king in theory, his authority was reduced to a ceremonial role. The Constitution marked the beginning of an era of increasing foreign control over the Hawaiian government, paving the way for the eventual fall of the monarchy. Queen Liliʻuokalani and Native resistance. In 1891, Queen Liliʻuokalani ascended the throne after the death of her brother Kalakaua. A determined leader, she was committed to restoring her people's sovereignty and attempted to enact a new constitution to return power to Native Hawaiians. Foreign entrepreneurs and politicians who controlled much of the government saw Queen Liliʻuokalani's proposal as a direct threat to their interests. In 1893, a group of businessmen led by Sanford B. Dole organized a coup to overthrow the queen. The betrayal and pain of the coup. With support from U.S. Minister Stevens, they orchestrated a coup d'état. On January 17, 1893, U.S. troops landed in Honolulu, while a small group of conspirators declared the Queen's removal and the establishment of a provisional government. Seeing her people unarmed and unable to resist, Liliʻuokalani made the heartbreaking decision to temporarily surrender, trusting that the U.S. would restore what was rightfully theirs. She signed her statement with tears, knowing she gave up her crown out of love for her people. Arrest and humiliation. After the coup, Liliʻuokalani was confined to Iolani Palace. Her home turned into a prison. She wrote songs like Aloha Oi, anthems of resistance and farewell, reminding her people that her spirit could never be stolen. The coup and the establishment of the Republic of Hawaii. The 1893 coup was swift and effective. U.S. troops landed in Honolulu, and Queen Liliʻuokalani surrendered her power under protest to avoid bloodshed, expressing trust that the U.S. government would restore Hawaiian sovereignty after investigating the events. U.S. President Grover Cleveland, initially critical of the coup, ordered an investigation but was unable to reverse the situation due to congressional resistance and the influence of pro-annexation groups. In 1894, the coup leaders proclaimed the Republic of Hawaii, with Sanford B. Dole as its president. Annexation, a strategic and economic affair. The change of administration in the U.S. in 1897 saw President McKinley adopt a more favorable stance toward annexation. McKinley and his supporters argued that Hawaii was essential for U.S. security and trade, especially during a time of global imperialism. The Spanish-American War of 1898 reinforced this perspective. Hawaii's strategic position as a midpoint between America and Asia was deemed vital for military and logistical operations. In July 1898, the U.S. Congress passed the Newlands Resolution, officially annexing Hawaii as a U.S. territory. Resistance and the legacy of Liliʻuokalani. While the annexation was celebrated by many American entrepreneurs and politicians, it faced significant resistance both in Hawaii and in the United States. Thousands of Native Hawaiians signed petitions opposing annexation, emphasizing their desire to maintain independence. Although no longer queen, Liliʻuokalani continued advocating for her people's rights until her death in 1917. The annexation marked the beginning of a long period of cultural, economic, and political dispossession for Native Hawaiians. Their lands were confiscated, their language marginalized, and their population dramatically reduced due to disease and socioeconomic inequalities. However, movements emerged to preserve Hawaiian culture and identity, which continue to this day. Conclusion: a chapter in U.S. history. The annexation of Hawaii highlights the complexities of U.S. imperialism and the resilience of indigenous peoples. For the United States, Hawaii represented a gateway to the Pacific and an invaluable resource in its global expansion. For Native Hawaiians, however, it was a tragedy that ended their sovereignty and transformed their way of life. Today, Hawaii is the 50th state of the United States, but its history remains a reminder of the human and cultural costs of imperial expansion. The struggle for justice and recognition of Native Hawaiians' rights persists, reflecting the resilience of a people determined not to be forgotten. Reflection: a story that resonates beyond time. The story of Queen Liliʻuokalani and the native Hawaiian resistance is not merely a dark chapter in Hawaii's history. It is a mirror reflecting the struggles of many indigenous peoples around the world. It is a tale of resilience in the face of greed, of fighting for identity, and of an unbreakable love for the land and culture. Liliʻuokalani embodied the sacrifice of a leader who, when confronted with betrayal and dispossession, chose peace to prevent the destruction of her people. Her personal pain and public humiliation did not break her. Instead, they transformed her into a symbol of dignity. The resistance of her people, expressed through songs, dances, and petitions, reminds us that true strength is not always found on the battlefield, but in preserving the spirit in the face of oppression. Hawaii's history compels us to question how powerful nations justify their actions in the name of progress and strategy. It invites us to reflect on the loss of cultures and the scars left by conquests on the souls of the subdued. But it also shows us human resilience, how even in the darkest circumstances, the roots of identity and love for the land can survive. Today, in a world still striving to acknowledge and respect cultural diversity, Liliʻuokalani's story teaches us that the past must not be forgotten. It reminds us of the importance of hearing silenced voices and valuing cultures that have been marginalized. It is a call for justice, not just for Hawaii, but for all peoples who have been stripped of their land, dignity, and history. In the echoes of Liliʻuokalani's songs and the waves crashing against Hawaii's shores, an eternal message endures. The spirit of a people can never be fully conquered.